Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and today we welcome Jay Ellis to The Stacks. Yes, that Jay Ellis, Lawrence from Insecure. Jay has just released a hilarious memoir called Did Everyone Have an Imaginary Friend or Just Me? Adventures in Boyhood. The book is a delightful and very personal telling of the story of a colorful and magnetic imaginary best friend named Mikey from Jay's childhood. The book is an interesting story about growth, disappointment, and constant reinvention. Today, Jay and I talk about how he became an actor, the psychology behind imaginary friends, and the many books that made Jay who he is today. Jay will be back on August 28th for this month's book club conversation around Master Slave Husband Wife by Ilyan Wu. It is a Pulitzer Prize winning work of nonfiction about an enslaved couple's daring escape to the North in 1848. Quick reminder, everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. If you love the show and you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks and join the Stacks Pack. It is just $5 a month and you get access to the best bookish community in the history of both books and communities. You can join us for a lot of chit chat over on Discord. We have a monthly virtual book club meetup. We have bonus episodes each month and a lot of other fun stuff throughout the year. You also get to know that by joining the Stacks Pack, you make it possible for me to make this little bookish podcast every single week. One of the fun perks of joining the Stacks Pack is that you get a shout out on this very show. So thank you to our newest members, Jill Sullivan, Randy Brown, Kaplan Trudeau, Jenny, Angela, Priscilla, Leslie Whitfield, and Samantha Melendez Crane. Thank you all so much. Also, let me just say, if you love the show, you want to support it, you want to know what's going on around here, you want my bookish hot takes, but you don't want to be part of a community. You don't want to have to figure out what a Discord is. You can go to tracythomas.substack.com and subscribe to my newsletter Unstacked, which will go directly into your inbox. No internet socialization needed, and it still supports my work. So head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack or tracythomas.substack.com to check out my newsletter. I thank you so much. I really could not do this show without that kind of support. So thank you. All right, now it is time for my conversation with Jay Ellis. All right, everybody, this is a real exciting one today. I am joined by actor and now author, hello, Jay Ellis. His brand new debut book is called Did Everyone Have an Imaginary Friend or Just Me? Adventures in Boyhood. Jay, welcome to the Stacks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's crazy hearing author anywhere near my name, to be quite honest with you. It's wild.
Bet.
Yeah.
I guess let's start there. People know you as a actor. They know you from Insecure, I think is probably like the number one thing, but they also might know you from Top Gun. I mean, you've been in a ton of things, but I feel like your like marquee billing is Insecure. However, I read the book cover to cover. So cute.
Thank you.
You were a reader your whole life.
Yeah. I don't know that I started out like wanting to be a reader necessarily.
Okay.
When I was a kid, my mom would make me do book reports every summer. Like it was her way of like keeping me in line and making sure that I was, reading and learning, but also not just like playing and being derelict all summer long. So she would send me, I would usually spend the summers with my grandparents. My parents were super young and childcare was expensive. So they would send me to my grandparents and my mom would send me with this it's far more than a trilogy. It's like a collection, a very large collection of books called Black Achievements in America.
Oh, like an anthology.
Yes, but it's like, so one book was like W.B. Du Bois. Another book was like Lena Horne. Another book is Booker T. Washington. Another one is, George Washington Carver. Like, so like the list just went on. And so every summer she would send me away. It started out with one book because I was young enough that one book was a struggle to like read and then get through a book report. And then she would send me with multiple books as I got a little bit older. But what I realized in all of that is like, that is when I fell in love with books. Like I found myself, it fully worked. My mom was the GOAT. She is the GOAT. She's right. I found myself just falling in love with these stories and falling in love with like possibility and what could be. And, on days when it was like 100 degrees and like 90% humidity, like I didn't want to be outside. So I could be in a corner reading and I was perfectly fine. And that's where my love for books started.
Did you think when you were younger that you would write a book? Like, was that something you wanted to do, even if you didn't necessarily think that you would?
No. Not at all. No, never. I don't think it ever crossed my mind. Like books to me were like, I think at a certain age, books feel educational until you experience books in a different way, right? And experience reading and story in a different way. And then I think when I got to that point of my life, it was just escape. Like there was some still education. There were things that I was still learning. I still read a ton of I read a lot of self-help books because I feel like I'm always trying to soak up stuff from people. Yeah. But I read to kind of escape for a little bit and just take my 30 minutes or hour or however long I can dedicate in a day or, whatever given time I have to just be in a full, a totally different world.
So how did we get this book? What happened that was like, you know what? I am going to write a book. I'm going to write my childhood memoir.
Yeah. We were in the pandemic. We were all in the pandemic together. Yeah. And, I, as an actor, we couldn't go to work. We couldn't figure out how to get on set yet. And the protocols weren't put in place. And so for the first time in my career, in a really long time at that point, in probably 11 or 12 years, I found myself with free time. I'm so used to just going from one project to the next and then promoting and then to the next. And it was the first time where I had an amount of time that I could dedicate to something to that wasn't just work. And so I found myself I burned bread like everybody. I downloaded Duolingo like everybody. I listened to a bunch of podcasts and watched movies. I read books. I did all the things. And then I just found myself wanting more. And my parents live here in LA. They live in Inglewood. And I was down at my parents' house. And my mom is the keeper of records in our family. She has all the pictures from both sides of the family. She's got all the stories. And I was flipping through all these pictures of my childhood. And with each picture, a new memory would come back. And I would ask my mom, oh, when did we take this? Where did we live here? What happened here? And then she would tell me a story. And then I would remember another part of that same story. Then my dad would chime in. And then I found myself just reliving so many of these moments from my childhood that really, in a lot of ways, they shaped who I am today. And inside a lot of those moments was my imaginary friend, Mikey, my childhood imaginary friend who I'm an only child. I moved around a bunch. I went to 12 schools in 13 years from kindergarten through my senior year. And so I was constantly the new kid. And each time getting ripped out of a situation and then dumped into another situation, I needed my own coping mechanism to help me make sense and process the world around me. And it was also a chaotic time. The 80s and the 90s were a very chaotic time. Yeah. And the messaging that was being sent to young boys, to young women, to kids of color, it was just so inundating and so nonstop that my overactive corn syrup fueled mind created an imaginary friend.
Yes. So Mikey he's not the main character. You're the main character, but he is definitely the main sidekick. he is your guy. And what I loved about the book, especially in that first essay where you talk about, kind of set it up for us, you talk a little bit about some research that's gone into imaginary friends and the kind of people that have imaginary friends and what kinds of imaginary friends kids come up with. And I thought it was so fascinating that it talks about how a lot of little kids have really super, super imaginary friends. It'll be a superhero or a magical unicorn who can shoot rainbow Fruit Loops out of its butt. But your imaginary friend is the most regular kid. Super regular. His name is Mikey, which in the 80s and 90s, Michael Jordan, Michael Tyson, Michael Jackson. It's the most regular name. He has no superpowers.
None.
He's not even particularly wise or helpful. So I'm wondering, why do you think that you, young Wendell/Jay, wanted a Mikey and not Superman or whatever?
No, I think, you're right. I did a bunch of research and to your point, you find out that almost 68% of kids have an imaginary friend. And that broader definition is if you put a personality into a pillow, or to a doll or to a G.I. Joe, or if you're like me and you see someone in front of you who's an imaginary friend that's not there, like that is also in that definition. And I think for me, I just wanted a big brother growing up. I think I really wanted someone, and I talk about this a little bit in the book too, like I wanted mentorship at a certain point in my life and role models. And I think I just always wanted someone who was a little bit older than me that would put me under the wing and be like, I got you. Like, don't worry about it. This is what we're going to do. Good or bad. Just somebody to feel like I was going through the experience of life with them and maybe slightly under their tutelage, but like still like going through this with them. And so I didn't feel so alone. And I think the other piece was like, you know, superheroes only very recently look like me.
Right.
Right. Like superheroes only really in the last 10 to 15 years.
Right.
And still very few of them have looked like me. So I think also like dreaming of a superhero in any way, I don't know if it would have felt real to my experience. I think I wanted somebody who would walk through the streets of Sacramento or Stockton or Youngstown or Tulsa or Tampa, whatever city I was in. I wanted somebody who was like as grounded as an imaginary friend could be. I wanted somebody who was in my real world with me, who could help me process it and make sense of it.
Okay. So as a kid, or in the book, you talk about how imaginary friends kind of fill this space between this self-consciousness and this freedom. Yeah. And, you know, I think like to elaborate more, like also the awkwardness in our bodies and just like the feeling of uncertainty. And especially if you're an only child, like not having someone your age to bounce things off of. So I'm wondering now, Mikey's not around anymore.
Mikey's not around.
Allegedly. But we can't prove it. But what do you think fills that space for you now between that self-consciousness and the freedom? Because I don't think that necessarily goes away when you become an adult.
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like this book was so much of that exploration for me. I feel like I didn't realize, you know, when I started to think about imaginary friends and the purpose that they fill in someone's life, that's really kind of how I set up the book, right? Like why did I have an imaginary friend? And my hope is that through all these stories, like the reader will understand why and where it comes from and what the usefulness of an imaginary friend is. And really that usefulness that I find that the most basic morsel of that is really just like imagination, creativity, and play. Mm-hmm. And I think as adults, right, somewhere probably between like 8 years old and 12 years old, you start to lose innocence and the world becomes very different. And we're told that like imagination, creativity, and play are not important, don't matter. You don't have time for them. Keep it moving. You got to pay bills. You got to raise kids. You got to stay safe. You got to do all these things. And those are all very true. But I also think when we're kids, your imagination gives you what you need. It fills a space for you that you need, right? And in my case, it was processing the world around me. In someone else's case, it may be something completely different. But I think as we get to adults, we lose that. We lose what that is for us, right? I think that's why we find ourselves struggling or unhappy at times. Even if you have things where you're like, I got my career, but something still just isn't right. I think it's because we're still missing imagination, creativity, and play. Like we are still supposed to have those things in our life. They're healthy, they're healing. They help us with stress. They help you break mental blocks in whatever your work life may be. They help you connect with kids and children and other people in different ways. And I just think that when I think of that space that you asked about, I think that's the thing that we're kind of missing. Now we all have a persona and we all wear a mask, whether we realize it or not. Like we all do. And it may be there to protect you. It may be there to create something as an illusion that you want people to see of the person you are. It could serve many different purposes, but we all have it in some way. And I think the thing that we're forgetting often is like, how do we nurture ourselves? How do we heal ourselves? How do we create happiness and joy inside ourselves? I don't think it's having an imaginary friend as an adult. But I do think it's like a paint and sip. Or playing the piano, or maybe it is learning a language. Maybe it is, going on a walk. Maybe it's doing a podcast, reading a book, writing a book. There's so many different things I think that can be that outlet.
I think it's interesting because a lot of the things you're mentioning are like creative things that of course require imagination. But I do think like imagination for imagination's sake, like just to like think about what could be, like what if, what happens. I think that is especially like dead for adults. Because I think some adults know, like, I feel good when I create. I like to draw. I like to paint. I like, like I like to play the piano, but that's different. Creativity is different in a lot of ways than just like pure imagination. And as you were thinking that, I'm sitting here being like, when are times that I imagine? And I don't want to get into this, but I do think one of the things that why people like politics is because they get to imagine what happens if this, what happens if that, in a way that we don't get to imagine in other parts of our lives. Sort of like we're allowed to like imagine what could happen if this happens with others, right? Like communal imagination. I don't know. That just like popped in my head. I'm trying to think of other places we imagine as adults.
No, but you're right. I think it's also like just imagining a different circumstance than the one you live in.
Yeah, like even what's possible.
Even the most basic, even that, like what's possible to your point, or imagining what another city looks like, or another country feels like, or another, like there's another person's experience. I think that ability to let your mind wander and have freedom is something that we lose. And we lose it for a very real reason. Like life is very serious. We all have responsibility. We have things we have to do. And we don't have the luxury of time necessarily. Yeah. But I do think that whether it's 10 minutes a day or an hour a day, like I think whatever, I read this thing that was this quote that was saying how boredom is the seed of innovation.
Yeah.
Or invention or imagination. Yeah. And the reason is because when you're bored, you're just like, I don't know, like your brain is allowed to kind of wonder and do these things. And I think to your point, like it's so vital that it's not just purely a creative thing. It is just being able to like imagine a slightly different world than the one that you inhabit.
Yeah, I think I've heard something similar about boredom, and I do think I've talked, obviously I interview authors all the time, and they often, some people will talk about how like when they have like writer's block, they're like, oh, I just sit in that because that's my space to like let the next thing come to me. Yeah. If I'm stuck, some people talk about like writing through it, which I also understand, like just continuing to create, continuing to imagine on the page, but also this idea of like, oh, when I feel that feeling of like, I can't do anything, I will just like lay on my floor and be like, well, can't do anything. Yeah. And then eventually like something comes from that. And I do like the idea of like boredom as potentially generative, because I'm the kind of person that if I'm not doing something, I feel like a failure, which I know is like this whole other thing.
That's me too.
But it lets me at least be like, oh, time to be bored. Like, let me try, which is just so hard to do for some of us. And I know people are sitting there being like, you're still in a productive mindset. I'm like, I know, but it's how I trick myself. Okay. Yeah. It's called a coping mechanism.
By the way, writing for me was that. Like writing this book was that. Because I was writing a book for the first time. So I had to figure out, how when your mindset is efficiency and productivity and then you go to write a book, like that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Like, right? You're like how you write, where you find inspiration to write or tell story or imagine, like does not care about efficiency or productivity at all whatsoever. So like me trying to schedule myself, like I would block out a time every day that I would want to write. I knew I would want to write from like 9 a.m. to like 11 a.m. if I could, as many days a week as possible. But what I found is that like, just because I blocked it out does not mean that like the story is coming. Like it means I've created the space for myself, but I haven't necessarily tapped into the thing that is going to drive story.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about that a little bit because I love to read the acknowledgments of books. And I also know that in the book you talk about mentorship a lot. And you thank aside from your editor, Nicole Counts, you thank 3 writers who I know and love, Safia, Fatima, and Donovan. And I'm curious, how did they help you? Why them? Like, what was your relationship with those 3 writers during this process?
Yeah, it really started with Nicole. Nicole created a text thread that was called OW for One World, LA Coven, We were in her coven. That's a joke. She is not in a coven or running a coven. It was a full joke. But in it, in that text chain, she introduced me to the three of them, and she was like, "Hey, I'm going to be coming out to LA soon, and I would love to get the five of us rather, together." And the openness, the space they created, the communication, like they would reach out. Like I hadn't spoken to them for weeks after we had initially met, and they would just reach out and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in Hollywood. I know you live in that area. Like if you want to meet for coffee and talk ideas," or like, I think the community in which they created, I think really helped me. To go back to like my day job as an actor, like I know my job. You give me a piece of material, I look at it, I can assume what the writer wanted.
Yeah.
If I've spoken to a director, I can now assume I can understand their vision, but I still have the scaffolding and I need to go create a character. And I can go do that because I've done that for so long, and I can go build that person out and create that character and then go perform it and then get notes in a process that I'm very used to from a director, from a writer, whatever it may be. This was a completely different experience where it's like, I'm not relying on somebody else's writing. This is my writing. And sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. And sometimes I don't see the things that I don't want to talk about. I don't see the things that I'm like spending too much time talking about. I don't see those things in the same way that having these three, specifically Saf, Fati, and Donovan in my life, like they really helped with that and created that space and just created, it was very safe.
That's so cool. Well, and they're all so talented. So big fan. The Stacks is a big fan of all three of them. And now you. I do want to ask you about acting. When did you, because it's not in the book, when did you become an actor? Like the book cuts off before we get any acting, Jay. So when did that, because when the book ends, you're going to the NBA.
Yeah. If
you can get back on the basketball team.
If I could get back on the basketball team. That I foolishly quit. But needed to for my journey.
You needed to.
It was interesting. At that same high school, at Booker T. Washington High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we had an absolutely amazing basketball team. A bunch of guys went to go play Division I basketball. A couple guys went to the NBA. They also had an amazing theater program, a speech and debate program, and then the band was very huge, regionally very well known. And I remember seeing my first play at that school, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Like I could maybe do that." But in my mind, I was doing the Fresh Prince when I was "Oh, I could do this." I was fully in Fresh Prince mode. They were on stage doing Othello, and I was blown away. I was completely blown away that kids my age were up there doing this thing. And it was just similar enough to like, again, watching the Fresh Prince every week. And wildly different, but also like that was the only understanding of acting that I had at the time. And I was like, "Oh, I can do that. I want to do that." And it wasn't until I got to college. I used my electives in college to take classes around the theater program. I played college basketball, so I couldn't commit to a production and commit to being fully involved, but I would use all my electives to stage manage, to work on props, to I did some voice classes, some movement classes, some sense memory classes. I used a lot of my electives for that, and that's when I just fully fell in love. And when I realized in college that I was never going to get off the bench, therefore I was never going to go play any professional basketball, let alone the NBA, that's when I had this like, oh, this is what I want to be doing with my life.
What was the first production you were in?
Well, the very first production I was actually in was a tap rendition of Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh.
I played Will in Oklahoma, actually.
Okay. Went to Kansas City on a Friday. I love this for y'all.
Which is crazy because there was a high school that I went to. So that was when I was in 5th grade.
Okay.
That's when I was in 5th grade, this is crazy because then now fast forward when I was in high school, at a second high school, this
Yes.
private high school that I went to, where I was one of a few Black kids. I asked the theater teacher there if I could try out. He did Oklahoma every single year.
Well, you have to, I think, if you're in Tulsa, right? It's like mandatory.
You have to. I mean,
it's the only option.
It's like Roger and Hammerstein. They did it right the first time, so we just got to keep honoring it. But I remember asking him, and he was like, I told him I wanted to try out for Will, and he said, "I don't think you're the Will type." And it broke my heart, but I also didn't understand what he was saying at the time. And also I still loved basketball so much that like, that's where my focus was. So it was like this kind of like, all right, whatever, I'm just going to go back to basketball. And that's what I focused on. And I did not do another theater production until I moved to LA. I did a little black box. A little one act over off of Santa Monica in those little black box theaters.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about over in Hollywood between Vine and whatever that is.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to think of what that is. I'm sure I have that playbill around here somewhere. Actually.
Do you have all your playbill things? Like do you keep all your stuff?
I keep all my scripts from every show, every movie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I keep. I still have some like plays, like some stuff that we worked on when I was in college.
Yeah.
I still have. Like I remember like. Cat on a Hot 10. I remember like there's a bunch of things where I remember like, and it really was about like, especially at that time, it was about like understanding the text.
Yeah.
And then how does that then influence the work that you do? Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the things when I think of plays, I actually don't really talk about plays that much when I just as an actor and just in my career over the last however many years, but like the understanding of text, I think I got more from plays. It was so crazy to read and be like, oh, that's what this is. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's who this person is supposed to represent. Like it was just such an amazing, it's an amazing time, an amazing experience. I hope to get to do some theater again.
I was just going to say, do you want to do theater?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
What would be your dream theater role? Do you have one? I know you do. You're an actor. I was an actor. I know you do.
I always wanted to do Top Dog, Underdog.
Oh my gosh. They just redid it.
They
just did it.
Yeah,
but I don't think you could do it too much. It's so good. Which would you be, space. Booth or?
Come on. You know I'm Booth.
Okay, I'm just asking. I'm just asking. I agree with you about plays. Obviously, I was a theater major. I credit what I do now, like my interest in reading, how I read, how I think about books, with all of the reading and work that I did in college. And in high school, I had a great script analysis teacher in high school. She would like sit us down and be like, Fences, let's go, or like All My Sons, like have at it. And I think I always encourage folks to read plays, even now, just for fun. 2 years ago, I read the entire Century Cycle in order, but just in order of how of the plays, not in order of when he wrote them.
Yeah.
But I go back, I read Shakespeare. Like I just think there's something about reading a play that it's so digestible. It's a full story, but also there's like so many gems. If it's good, I don't necessarily read new plays. I like to read like classic, recent American theater.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay, but I have to ask you this. How did you go from Wendell to J? Is that like junior? Is that what the J is?
It's the junior. So my dad is Wendell Ramon Ellis Sr. And everyone always called him Big Dub growing up. And then I was Little Wendell.
Got it.
And there was a stretch where I was the youngest cousin on my mom's side of the family. Okay. And I was the only boy. So I had a bunch of girl cousins, probably like 8 or 9 girl cousins that were older
and we
than
get
me.
to meet some of them.
Yes, we get to meet some of them in the book. Shout out to all of them. And we were actually in Stockton at a family reunion at the park. And my voice was really high. Like I had a really, really high voice, like an abnormally high voice. And my cousins were like, tease me for it. And I remember just having this meltdown where I was like, I'm not little. Stop calling me little. Like I just had a full meltdown. I remember leaning against a tree, like going and doing the thing where like you pout and you like storm off and then you just go sit somewhere and then you put your legs up and you put your arms over your knees and your head down.
Yeah.
And I did that. And literally from that moment on, every once in a while, someone will call me Lil Wendell because they had obviously called me that for 8 or 9 years at that point, 10 years maybe even. But they started calling me Wendell Jr. and then Wendell J. And then by the time I got to high school, J just stuck.
Got it. So you've been Jay since high school.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Also, you and I share a sporting story, which is that you quit playing t-ball because the ball hit you in the face.
Yeah.
And I quit playing soccer because they made me play goalie one day and the ball hit me in the face. And I was like, no, it's like never going to happen
Why are we
again.
doing this? Like, why?
I'm like, no.
It's crazy.
No, like I'm not standing in this little box for 30 minutes at a time. And then when I get action, it's just straight to the dome. Like never
It's
again.
always you are the target too. Like, it's like you're in a tiny, you're the target.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like you're throwing and kicking things at my face and I'm not interested.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I felt very, very seen by you because most people don't admit to being like, I was a vain child. I knew then. I was a dancer as a kid. I was like, you know what? I need this. Okay. I need this more than
so
I need
good.
soccer. Okay. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and talk about books. Valentine's Day is upon us and I've got love on the brain. Love for books. Duh. Of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to tracythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. All right, we're back. Before we get to your taste in books, we have to answer a question from somebody who wrote in. So I'm going to read you what they said, and then we're going to come up with you're going to come up with at least one book recommendation. I've got a few, so we can work together too. This comes from Anna or Anna, and they say, I'm a high school English teacher, and I mainly teach 11th grade, which in our state is American Lit. And we're looking to shake up the curriculum. The books we currently teach are important, but old, and old is bold. With history repeating itself at such a rapid pace, we want updated texts that are engaging, accessible, and more relevant to now. The texts we've read and discussed but want to update are Frederick Douglass's narrative, The Great Gatsby, The Crucible, and The Glass Castle. And then Anna says parenthetically, this is comparatively newer, but I don't love that it presents homelessness as a choice. And then the last thing they say is even better if you can make it all nonfiction. So we're trying to come up with some books for 11th graders about American Lit, talk about history, but not necessarily older books. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a few. I do have one fiction book for you, Anna, but I'll get there. So my first pick is Invisible Child by Andrea Elliott. It won the Pulitzer in 2021 or 2022, and it's the story of a young girl named Dasani and her 7 siblings and her parents and the foster care system, as well as poverty in New York City and how her parents are going from job to job. And I love this book. Many of you heard me talk about it. Andrea did the podcast. But one of the things I love about this book is I think that Andrea Elliott gives Dasani what I call the presidential treatment. So she goes back into Dasani's family. She finds out which of her ancestors were enslaved in America. So she really takes you through sharecropping. She takes you through American history, as well as taking you through this current moment in New York City or this recent moment. She's with the family for about 10 or 12 years, I think. And so you're really getting this sort of like, what does it mean to be American? And I also like this for 11th graders because Dasani is like around that age. So the book ends, I think she's in high school. So I like the idea of like younger people reading books about younger people that are still showing that like young people actually matter. And it's in a book for adults, but it's about a kid.
I love that.
The next one I would pick is How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith, which came out a few years ago as well. And it's a reckoning with how we talk about and think about American slavery. And it's through space. So he goes to different physical locations in America. He goes to the New York Stock Exchange to talk about the slave trading that was happening there. He goes to Angola Prison, which used to be a plantation. He goes to a Civil War reenactment. So you're getting all this American history, but you're also getting it like modernized. And he's talking to people at the Civil War reenactment being like, so what's up with the Daughters of the Confederacy? And they're like, heritage, so it's like that whole thing. And then my fiction pick is The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead.
Yay.
So good.
So good.
Again, it's about younger people, even though, it's not necessarily a YA book. I think it works for a younger audience. It talks about this moment in American history, sort of civil rights time, and it's about these two boys who are best friends in one of those reform schools, which was basically just like prison for Black and brown kids, but it was school, and it is so good, and the ending knocks your socks off. So those are my picks.
It's
Do you
so
have
interesting.
anything?
Well, when you first said this, I actually started when you first read Anna or
Anna. We don't know.
Thoughts. I literally Colson Whitehead popped in my head. I thought of the Underground, and then I also thought of White Boy Shuffle. So like those were like two things that popped in my head. But this is a wild title. Okay. But I do
I'm
think,
so excited.
And I'm sure you've read this book just because we talked about this person, and we're both huge fans of this person. But Donovan X. Ramsey has this amazing book called When Crack Was King. And I think it's really interesting because it really sets historically, right? We're in the 1980s, but we even do a little bit before that. And we really talk about like where crack was coming from, how it was made, how it got into the country. But what he does is this really amazing job of demystifying kind of the ownership of this word crackhead. Right. And what you really start to do, like one of the things he does in this book is he takes like 4 or 5 different people's perspectives and people that he spent time with and walks through their history and their journey with this drug. And you understand how it affected their neighborhoods, their families, their personal lives, and then and it brings them forward. If they are still alive, it brings them all the way forward to today and how they are now living past such a crazy time. For me, the book was wildly, I don't know, it just made me really rethink being a middle schooler and being in high school and call somebody a crackhead as a joke, right? And like why we were made, and not how we ultimately, we were mean. I'm not sure of another way to say it. Like it's such a derogatory term, but we had no care and compassion for those people and understanding how they got to where they were. And then not only that, but like the ripple effect that it had around the people around them and the community and their family and their cities and so forth and so on. So I am going to throw that one out there.
That's
I think
such a good pick.
I'm sure it's a tough title to get approved by a school, but I do think it's a really amazing study of a crazy 20-25 year period in American history.
And it's such a good recommendation too, as you said, because he follows these 4 different people, it has a really strong narrative pull. So for younger people, they're going to be able to connect with individual stories. Because I feel like in high school, sometimes you were being asked to read things where it was just like straight history. Yeah. And it was hard to connect and be like, why do I care about this thing that happened 40 years before I was born? And in this case, it's like, no, you get to know these different people and you get to relate to them. So that's really good. Okay, Anna, if you get any of these books read, if you get them into your curriculum, you have to tell us, you have to email us, you have to let us know. And for folks who want a recommendation read on air, email askthestacks@thestackspodcast.com. Okay, Jay, 2 books you love, 1 book you hate.
Oh man, 2 books. Okay, I'm going to go Love. Okay, I'm gonna go Sag Harbor. I'm gonna bring it back to Coulson.
Okay. You're a big Coulson guy. This is what I'm picking up.
I'm a big Coulson guy.
I've never read Sag Harbor. I know. I've only read Underground Railroad and Nickel Boys. I know.
Okay. I know. It reminded me a little bit of my own high school experience. I think that was like one of the first times I read a character. I was like, oh, I know this guy.
Okay.
He's constantly thrown into new schools. He tries to like recreate who he is. Kind of gets lost in it. Anyway, so that's one. My other one is actually Black Buck by Mateo.
I'm reading the new one right now.
Oh, Great Hemisphere. Yeah.
Yeah. As we're recording, it's out today.
Yeah. So, congrats, Mateo.
Yes.
Black Buck is another one. Absolutely love. That felt like the first time I had a corporate job before I started acting. And I was like, oh my God, this is what this world is. And I'm in it. And I'm also like a pariah in it at the same time. Okay. A book I hate.
Yes. You can do it.
Can I say a book that just makes me fall asleep every time somebody talks about it?
Sure.
Moby Dick.
Oh, yeah. I never read it.
Yeah, I just fall asleep every time somebody brings it up.
So here's the thing about Moby Dick. That's one of the most common answers for a book you hate. But this is what I will say. When it doesn't come up for that question, the people who've like actually read it, so many people really love it that are surprising to me that sometimes I'm like,
should I read it?
Read it? Am I going to read this book? Like, I don't want to.
Right.
I think maybe one day we'll do it on the podcast and I'll force everyone else to read it with me, like for book club, just so that I'm not alone. That's what we did with Anna Karenina. I was like, I don't want to read this, but we're going to do it.
Yeah.
What's your reading life like as an adult? How often do you read? Where do you read? How do you like to read? Do you have snacks and beverages? Sort of set the scene.
I'm a big night reader, so it's probably like the hour before I go to bed, I would say. Okay. So there's not a lot of beverages because I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night and have to make a bathroom run. But I do love a quiet space. I don't do well reading in bed because I will the minute I'm horizontal, I'm out. It has nothing to do with life or TV or book. Just like the minute I'm horizontal, my body is like, oh, it's time to rest. So I actually like to sit and luckily living in Los Angeles, like we can be outside pretty much year round. So I'd actually like to sit outside and read and like just kind of, I think there's something for me freeing about like, if I'm in my space, I think I will constantly think about things I need to be doing. Mm-hmm. Laundry, groceries, dishes, whatever it is. I think I constantly think back to that, like always needing to be doing something. I get back into that space. So I like to actually go sit outside. I have this chair that sits like in my backyard and I love to go like just sit in this like soft padded like lawn chair and just read for like an hour. I try to read like, if I'm lucky, I probably read like 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week.
Okay,
if
that's
I'm lucky.
Good.
If I'm lucky,
Jay.
Yeah. If I'm lucky,
good.
That's if I'm lucky. My kid doesn't necessarily.
Kids have no respect for a parent reading time. At least our kids are super close in age. They're very young. I think. Yeah. Is your kid into reading? Is she?
Oh, we do a book every night.
Yeah.
We do a book every night. She loves books, and then usually when we leave the room. Or like I rub her back for a little bit. She always asks me to rub her back before she falls asleep. She never falls asleep. And then she's like, okay, daddy, you can go. And then she literally just sits up in bed and she flips through the pages and tells herself the story.
That's what my kids do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, you love it. I feel like I'm doing my job. Like this is great. And then, I try to go have my own reading time after that. But yeah,
What are you reading right now?
I just picked up this book actually that I'm probably like 2 or 3 chapters in now called Super Communicators.
Okay.
Do you know this book?
Is that Charles Duhigg's new one?
Duhigg? Yeah. I love communication.
Okay.
I love the idea that like, I even think about like, the what's the love language one? Oh my God. The 4
love languages.
Is it the 4 love languages?
Or 5. There's some. I don't know how many.
So I think about things like that where I'm like, oh, I love all of these different ways that people try to analyze how we communicate. And really, like, when you boil it down, there's really like some basic things. And then obviously culturally it changes and age-wise it changes. There's a range, obviously, of communication styles. But for whatever reason, I just really love books about the way people choose to use the words they use and the more nuanced conversation versus the on-the-nose conversation. To what I love about Super Communicators, at least where I'm at right now, is Charles has this theory that there are basically 4 types of communication. And it's like, what type of, if you understand what those 4 types are, then you can understand the conversation that a person is trying to have with you.
Okay.
So like, do they want something or need something?
Oh, I see.
Do they just want to be heard and they don't want you to, right?
Yes.
They just want to have someone to complain to. Are they looking for information? Or is this like a crisis or a problem that needs to be fixed? And like, I think those are the 4. If I messed it up,
Something like
Charles, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Send us the cliff notes, Charles.
But yeah, so I love that.
Okay. Oh, that's so interesting. I read it. We did his Power of Habit on the podcast years ago.
Yeah.
And my funny story about that is that I was like, oh, like I'm thinking about my habits so much. And in the book, he's like, if you think about your habits, like it's harder to do them because like you'll like things that you do naturally. And literally the week I was reading that book, I backed out of my driveway and hit someone's car because I was like, oh, what's the habit that I have while I back out? And I like checked too many times, so my rhythm was off, and I was like, fuck, I hate this guy. He ruined my life. Everybody was fine. I was going so slow, but like someone was just, you know how LA is, you back out of your driveway and someone's like flying down the street. Yeah. What are some books that you're looking forward to reading? They don't have to be new books, but just things you're like excited to get to.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I actually got this book. I'm going to look up because I don't want to Pay As You Go. There you go.
That blue book.
Yeah. And I can't think of his name right now.
I'll link to everything in the show notes. So I'll put Pay As You Go and we'll link to the author's name.
I absolutely love him. I got a chance to meet him and do a reading of the book. And it is a very thick book, so I have not had a chance to read it yet. Because I'm also one of those people who like, I refuse to start something unless I actually feel like I have time to. Yeah, if I don't think I'm gonna finish it, I won't do it. But I'm actually really excited to read Pay As You Go. It is nonfiction. It is about a man moving to this giant megatropolis of a city, and his experience of navigating and guiding that city as a person of color and not knowing anyone there, and learning the new social norms of like the place that he's in. At least that's what I've kind of gotten from it and everything that I've heard. So I'm super excited to read that.
What's the last really good book someone recommended to you?
Ooh. Actually, I'm going to go because a friend of mine sends me like literally, like I won't talk to her for months. She's a good friend of mine's wife, and she will literally just send me book titles. And every single time she goes to the library, she gets all her books from the library.
Okay. We love this.
I absolutely love it. She lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Her name is Elizabeth Bojang. And she sent me this book. I have not read it yet, but I'm actually, but again, you're going to see like, oh, this is what he loves. It's called You're Not Listening. Okay. By Kate Murphy. Okay. What You're Missing and Why It Matters. Ooh, it's another communication book. It's she wrote, this is a good self-development style book and about becoming a better listener.
Ooh, okay.
That's but my friends send me so many random titles because I do love to read kind of all over the place. Okay,
so aside from Elizabeth, who else do you take book recommendations from? Who do you trust? Ooh. Do you trust any outlets? Like, are there people you don't know that you trust because like they recommend?
Oh man, I was Black Man Reading for sure.
Oh yes, Akili, love.
He's amazing.
Oh wait, did you do his? Were you on his panel? Okay,
yes.
Amazing.
And when I just met him last weekend, and I didn't recognize that it was him, and
because of his new hair.
Yeah, and then when he said, "A Black Man Reading," I was like, "Oh my God, I love you!"
We love.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
He's got great taste.
Yeah.
Are there any kind of genres that you won't read? You've mentioned that you like communication, sort of self-development books. You clearly like some sort of a little literary and some nonfiction. Yep. Anything you're not into?
I guess romance maybe would probably be the one that I find myself like not leaning into. Which maybe there's something there. Who knows?
Maybe you just need the right romance. I used to be like, oh, I don't read romance. And then since I started doing this, I have built community with so many readers, and many of them are like extreme romance people. And I will go to them and be like, I want this kind of romance with this kind of, like, I don't want them to get pregnant. I don't want them to have a big fight. I want them to be da-da-da. And then someone will send me like the exact romance, and it works for me. Granted, it's still romance, so it's going to be really different than Donovan's book. You know, like it's like sometimes I have to like get my brain around like, okay, this isn't like a book about a cult or something. But I have been convinced by the romance people in my life that there is a romance novel for everyone, but sometimes it takes a little sifting.
I will say I am like a sucker for love. Like I'm a total hopeless romantic. So there probably is something in there. I think it's when I think of the steaminess. Yes. That could potentially be inside of a romance novel. I think that's the thing where I'm always like, oh, that's not for me.
You don't want to read the sex.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to read. I don't need to read
so you need, they call this a closed door romance where they don't actually write the sex scenes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot. I'm telling you, I'm actually like really interested in the romance community, even though I'm sort of like on the outside looking in being like, what are you guys doing over there? Do you have a favorite bookstore?
Oh man, I would say Powell's Books in Portland, Oregon, just because like I spent so much time there in college.
Okay.
For sure. Like I think of literally just roaming the halls, but also like I would go there to study. I would go there to like disappear and like just get off campus. It's also in this like kind of unique part of Portland called the Pearl. So like there's restaurants and coffee shops and people are kind of just always out, and it's great people watching, and it's a giant store.
Yeah, so big.
Like it's one of those stores that like it's so big, like every room is painted a different color, and that's how you know what room you're supposed to go to find the thing that you want to find. Like it's giant. So I would say Powell's. I mean, that's what jumps in my head immediately, just for like the nostalgia of it, for sure.
I didn't ask you this. What's the book that you like to recommend to people?
Oh man, you're gonna be like, of course it is, The Alchemist.
Oh, man, of course it is. No, Jay, you were doing so good. I hate that book so much.
I can't help myself.
Oh, my God. What is it about it for you that you love?
Have you ever thought that, like, have you ever realized that, like, the thing that you're currently doing is amazing?
I mean, sure. Like, this interview's been really fun so far.
But are you focused on a goal? I think I was such a goal-oriented person and I still am. Like I'm a very
goal-oriented person.
I'm like very like, I got to get to A. A is what we're working on, and then after A, we can move to B. Like this is my 1 year, my 3 year, my 5 year. Like I am still that person, but I've eased up. But I was that person for definitely through my 20s and through my early 30s. And I think this book was the first time where I was like, oh my God, when I look back at all the stuff that I had done to that point in my life, I was like, oh, the journey has been absolutely amazing. Right. Why am I so focused on, yes, I still want to move to that thing. Yeah. I'm also a person who has a really hard time celebrating. Like, I think I'm always like, yeah, no, I did that thing. It's great now. Now I got to move on to the next thing. And I think that's the goal. The goal person in me. And so I think that was another time too. Like this book really just kind of opened my eyes for me, just kind of opened my eyes to like, you can be happy with the moments that you're in while you're still walking towards where you want to go. And I just never, for me, it was just a wool that was just kind of pulled over my eyes.
Did you read it in your 20s?
I read it the first time I got it. I was 28 years old. My mom gave me a copy of it. Shout out to Paula. And then I've probably read it again, like in my early 30s, maybe. I've probably read it again. And then I don't know when the last time I read it was. I've definitely read it since I was 32, 33. But it's definitely a book that I almost always tell people. Because I also find that I'm always in space with a lot of people younger than me who are asking me like, what should I be doing? How should I get there? What's the thing? And I think I always try to remember to say that like every single thing that you're doing is building towards the thing that you ultimately want. So you have to be present and live in those moments and mine the most out of those moments. So you therefore can use whatever those moments are meant to give you in the future.
I have brothers and they all love the book and they've told me to read it. And I read it and was like,
oh my goodness.
You people cannot be trusted.
Oh my goodness.
Again. But listen,
one of the things that I feel strongly about is if you love it, I love it for you. I'm never reading it again. I read it. But what I do hate is when people are like, oh, that book. Like, I hate that. It is not for me. But I do know so many people who, and one of my brothers is very similar to you, very goal oriented, very, and I am too. And so like, I understand why a book like that is appealing to you guys, but I think also they hyped it up way too much.
Oh,
they were like,
on.
The Alchemist, it's going to change your life. And I was like, cool. I can't wait for my life to be changed. And you know what? It didn't. It changed my life in the sense that now I have a book that I hate.
That you don't want to read it and you don't like it. But
exactly,
okay, here's my last thing. Here's my last pitch on it.
Ahead.
And you've already read it, so it doesn't matter. But my last pitch on it is, I think we are often like so taught to have these goals and to strive for greatness and to strive for all these things, right? And we see them now like in your face nonstop with socials and stuff. Yeah. That I think we forget that like we don't really know how to enjoy the moment when you get it or have happiness around it. Like there are moments in my life where I've achieved really amazing things and like I completely disregarded them and just moved on to the next as if they never happened.
Yeah.
And there are moments of happiness and like celebration and that I should have fully soaked in and lived in and didn't. And I think it's like, for me, it was also one of those things of like being such a goal oriented person. It was also like, how can you just make sure that as you hit each of those milestones, you're present in those milestones and enjoying those milestones. So you're not doing a goal just to do a goal and then there is no fullness or happiness once you reach it. Like you're doing it and hopefully you've taken everything along the way. Okay, I'm not gonna evangelize it anymore.
It's done. It's great. People, if you're looking for a book to help you take in the moment, read The Alchemist. But don't tell me about it. Tell Jay. Find Jay on social media. Let him know what you thought. Okay, do you have a favorite book from childhood?
Ooh, yeah. I would say my probably like favorite book is Needy to the Rescue.
Okay, I don't know that.
Deborah Newton Chocolate. It was the first time where like I saw kids who looked like me on a book cover and I was like, I want to read this. Like everybody kind of looked like me. They spoke like me, moved like me. I also liked R.L. Stine growing up a lot. Okay. I love to be scared. I love horror. So like, yeah.
Okay.
And then I have many Black Americans of Achievement books that I could give you based on the reading my mom made me do.
Okay, got it. Since you're an actor and you're a person who options things, right?
Yeah.
So don't give us any secrets. You don't have to give us any secrets. What is a book you would love to see turned into a thing? But also if you can't say, that's okay too.
No, I mean, I would say for myself, I would say option this book called Spite House by a guy named Johnny Compton, a Black author out of San Antonio, Texas. And it is a Southern Gothic horror. Cool. And the book is all about generational trauma and how do we break that. But it's this amazing story of this father and his two daughters that are on the run. And he will take whatever job he can just to get a little cash in his pocket to get to their ultimate destination. And he ends up taking a job as a caretaker for a house. And this house has a past and it has a history. And anyone who comes in this house usually does not leave. And the book ultimately ends with like some sacrifice. And like ultimately this father has to make a decision and he does and his family gets out. But, we have this very last moment where we're not sure if it's actually the father or if it's or if his
scary.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a really, really good one.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have any movies or TV shows where you think they are better than the book?
Ooh. I don't know. I feel like I don't think that's possible.
It is possible.
Who?
Well, I think Black Klansman, the movie, is always the example I give. Because I thought the book was not very good, but the movie's pretty entertaining. I think what happens is that people think about like, oh, I want to turn my favorite book into a movie.
Right.
And when the book is really good, it's not possible.
Right.
But when the book is just okay.
You can go up.
You can do things with it. You can make changes. You can like lean in. So I feel like there's a lot of things that have been adapted that we don't even think of as adapted because it's like, the book was fine or whatever.
Right.
That's my theory. So I
Yeah.
always tell all my little Hollywood friends, I'm like, don't adapt this really good book. Adapt this like sort of
Down the
okay
middle.
book. Yeah. You'll have more freedom, I promise.
Yeah.
Okay, last question for you. If you could have the current president of the United States read one book, what would you want it to be?
I don't know. This is a good one.
I stole it from the New York Times.
This is a good one. I mean, I feel like we need Joe to read something historical, but I kind of also feel like maybe he needs some James Baldwin in his life.
Ooh, okay.
Maybe he needs, I don't know, he might need to run back The Audacity of Hope.
He might need to check in with his friend.
Yeah, he might need to run that one back and just be like, hey man, I need some help. Yeah.
Funny.
That's such a good one. I don't know. I don't know. I want to. That's one of those ones I want to think on for sure.
Okay, well, you don't have a lot of time.
I know. Maybe Notes of a Native.
Okay, Notes on a Native Son. I like that. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
We'll take that. We'll take that. Everybody at home, best news ever. Jay is going to be back on August 28th.
Yeah.
We are discussing Pulitzer Prize winner, Master, Slave, Husband, Wife by Ilyan Wu. We're going to discuss the book in detail for book club. I'm really excited. I've been wanting to read this book since last year. I didn't get around to it last year, so I haven't even read it as the time of we're recording, but I will have read it by the time we record part 2. Everybody else, go get your copy, read with us. And obviously, hello, you can get Jay's book, Did Everyone Have an Imaginary Friend or Just Me? Wherever you get your books. I, at the time of us recording, have not heard the audiobook yet. I begged for a copy. It's not done until next week, they told me. So I read it off the page and I loved it. But I have a feeling that I will go back and listen to some of the chapters on audio because I know you read it and I can't wait.
I do read it. And my mom and dad.
Oh my God. Not the whole family.
I
Not
got my
Wendell
mom and
Sr.
dad.
and Paula.
Come on. I got them in there.
I love it. Well, everybody, you can get Jay's book wherever you get your books, audio or physical. Read Master, Slave, Husband, Wife with us. And thank you so much for doing this with us, Jay.
No, thank you. This was awesome.
And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks.
All right, y'all, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you again to Jay Ellis for joining the show. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Carla Bruce Eddings for helping to make this conversation possible. Don't forget, Jay will be back on August 28th for our book club discussion of Master, Slave, Husband, Wife by Ilyan Wu. If you love the show and you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks and join the Stacks Pack, and check out my newsletter at tracythomas.substack.com. Make sure you're subscribed to The Stacks wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure to leave us a rating and a review. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, and at The Stacks Pod _ on Twitter. You can also check out my website at thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Lauren Tyree. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tigirigis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.